Alrighty, everybody, and welcome to the Touch of Gaming podcast. This is episode number 111. As always, I'm your host, Lloyd Hannison. And joining me, Jared Schultz. Jared, how's it going?
I am doing just fantastic. How are you doing, Lloyd?
I'm doing really good. We're changing things up here a little bit, changing the intro. Going to take me a while to figure out that, so I can just do it without thinking. We're recording this, by the way, on Friday, the 20th. Is it this? Yeah, it's the 20th today, isn't it? I was writing 19th all day today. It is the 20th. That's really weird. The 20th. Huh. Anyway, that doesn't matter. Why do people care if I was writing it the 20th or the 19th all day? So we're recording this on Friday the 20th. We had announced in the last episode that we're going to try to record every Thursday, and then the first Thursday we missed it, so we apologize. So if you showed up on Thursday, we're sorry. But we will try to record.
My fault.
But we will try to record it on every Thursday from here on out. So, but check vgpodcast.com/live. There's the live schedule there, and that will basically give you. That's the place to look anyway. If you want to know when we're doing a live show, that's where it's found. So check out vgpodcast.com/live.
Yeah, or follow us on Twitter. We talk about it. I apologize. It was my fault. I won pre-release show tickets to Batman, and I decided to go do that. It was my fault.
That's no excuse. No, it's a pretty good excuse. I would have gone to the movie too, especially for a reason that I'll say later in this episode. So let's jump right into announcements. Just want to remind you all that we have a newsletter. You can sign up to get live show announcements. So if you accidentally showed up on Thursday, if you would have been signed up for the newsletter, we would have given you a heads up that we were recording on Friday instead. So hopefully that helps in the future. We are doing live shows, hopefully every Thursday for this one. And we do a live show every Friday at 10 p.m. Central called The Bonus Stage. So that's coming up right after we record this one. It should be a lot of fun. Jeff and I sit down and we talk about gaming, game culture, and everything around it, music, gaming, web stuff, you name it. If it's gaming related, we're here and we're talking about it. So check that one out every Friday night at 10 p.m. Central. And that's about it. So Jared, what you been playing lately, man?
I have actually been playing a ton in the last week, which is always good news because it means I have lots of content to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, I've been playing Pocket Heroes. Yeah. I'm not sure there has been any game that has been a bigger letdown for me than this game. But we'll talk about it because we're going to do a joint review on it. But the quick version is I was really, really excited about it, thought it looked really interesting, great, unique idea, and completely failed on the execution. Next, I've been playing My Monster Rancher. Monster Rancher, I'm reviewing it later, but Monster Rancher was kind of a big Pokemon knockoff franchise. It was kind of like Sony's version, wasn't it? I think Sony had a couple of them.
Mm-hmm.
Since Nintendo, obviously doesn't want Pokemon to be on Sony stuff, so that's what Sony did is they brought Monster Rancher.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if that's true, but it's semi-true. If you're a PlayStation kid, these were the ones you were playing instead of Pokemon. And then I've been playing Outwitters some more. I reviewed it last week. I'm actually got to say it's in a lot of ways I like it better after having played it another week. The games and matches, they go pretty fast, and I like that. And then I like the leaderboards and being able to play people that are approximately your same level based on the rankings and mm-hmm. things like that. Actually pretty good. So so if you haven't picked up that one, it's free. I would still recommend giving it a try. And if you want to play against me, feel free. I have to say I am still currently undefeated. No listener has vanquished me. So
get out there and kick his butt, listeners.
I just threw down the gauntlet. Feel free to challenge me, and first person who beats me gets a shout out next week. Next, I've been playing Knights of the Round Table, which is a chill and go game.
Mm-hmm.
So they took a lot of hints from Jetpack Joyride on this one because there's missions, and as you beat the missions, new missions appear. You basically you're a knight, and you press a button to extend a cable to swing around pegs and collect gems. And if you live long enough, then some crazy bird comes and picks you up and takes you to the next castle. Along with collecting gems, you're also saving princesses. Different knights have different power-ups that you slowly unlock the different knights. You can also, make your guy more powerful by giving him an extra heart or whatever so that he can take another damage. It's actually kind of interesting. I'm still trying to get a little further in it before I review it. So far, though, it's a fun little game that you can play for a few minutes and get around in. And then finally, I've been playing oCube, which yeah, for some reason I really like the name. You played like a Picross, right?
Yep.
So it's a little bit like a Picross or one of those
like
logic
Picross
puzzle
3D
games. Yeah, Picross 3D is probably the closest game to it. So basically, on the edge, you'll have a rectangular sphere, and not a rectangular sphere. That's not even a thing. A rectangular box, and on the edges, it will give you a number, and that's how many in a row there will be on that line of blocks. And so then you have to figure it out. You can either mark them as good, or you can knock them out each block, and then you slowly make a 3D figure. And it's pretty good. It's a fun little puzzle game, and like if you're into Picross or Picross 3D, it may be worth picking up. It's pretty cheap, so yeah. And I'm probably keep playing that one, and I'm hoping to actually review that one on a iOS Pulse soon. Yes, we still are thinking about the pulses. We just haven't got back to them yet.
Mm-hmm.
We've been trying to make sure we have good shows or a good touch of gaming before we do pulses. So yeah, that's what I've been playing. What have you been playing, Lloyd?
Well, just like you, I've been playing a lot of stuff as well. It's been a busy time to play games over the last little while. Pocket Heroes, of course, just like you, Jared. Yeah, well, we're gonna review it in this episode, so we can worry about that there. And there's lots to worry about. I've also been playing Field Runners 2, which came out. I was a huge fan of Field Runners when it first came out. It was really kind of the game that got everybody interested in tower defense. It's not the first one. There was other ones before it, but it was probably the most I don't know. I guess full experience. It was the most game based around tower defense, and they've taken basically Field Runners 1 and the little bit of content you got in Field Runners 1. They've kind of amped it up and added a whole bunch of new levels, game modes, different ways of playing. So you have your normal kind of Field Runners desktop tower defense where you're putting towers and the guys kind of run in the middle. There's maps where they're on set paths. There's maps where you will lose, but you have to kill a certain number of guys before you lose to beat that level. There's a whole bunch of different play experiences. The world is divided into 4 main sections. It's a really good desktop tower defense game. Field Runners 2 is only on the iPhone so far. You can play it on your iPad at double size 2x. But they are working on a iPad version. I'm assuming it's going to be a separate download, just like Field Runners 1, where they'll have Field Runners 2 for iPad, just like they had Field Runners 1 for iPad. So I'm going to be playing this one a little bit more and hopefully giving you guys my review in the next couple episodes. It's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of content in this game to get through. So I'm looking forward to that one.
I really wanted to play it, but I haven't had space on my iPod. So shortly I will be playing that one as well.
Cool. It is really good. I've also been playing Metal Slug 3. I'm going to be reviewing that one in this episode. I talked about it a little bit last episode, and I ended up getting it, and we'll be talking about that. And also picked up today for the movie that Jared saw last night. The Dark Knight Rises came out on the iOS device. It's an iPhone and iPad game by Gameloft. It's $7, and it is basically awesome. It's using kind of the same engine that they used for Spider-Man, but it's better. Everything about it is better. And unfortunately, I played through a little bit of the game to begin with, and I've gotten through some of it, and it's basically following everything that happens in the movie. So I know kind of what the start of the movie is going to be. So I will not be playing this game anymore until I have a chance to go see the movie. And that makes me very, very sad because the game is really awesome. So you will not get a review next episode because I won't have time to watch the movie by next episode, I don't think. Yeah, so I'm a little bit sad with that. So Dark Knight Rises, great game, but can't play it. So check out more on that in future episodes. But for $7, I was really quite happy already. So
maybe that's the warning. If you don't play that game until you've seen the movie, if you're worried about spoilers, because Lloyd, seriously, he asked me a couple of things. He's like, "Is this and this in the movie?" And I'm like, "Oh, yep, that's main plot points." And he was like, "No," it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's really awesome. Sorry, I'm just texting Jeff, who I'm doing a show with in 2 hours or an hour and a half, and I'm kind of worried that he's not showing. No, he's showing. Okay, good. I was a little bit worried there. I saw his name pop up on my phone, and it's just like, no. But we are doing the bonus stage. I was almost a very, very sad person. All right. So Jared, let's chat a little bit about some of the good games that have been coming out, or that came out this past week. The first one, just talked about it. Dark Knight Rises, $6.99 on the App Store. It's a Gameloft game. There's microtransactions built into it, but you don't really need to spend your real money on them. You can get everything in the game through normal gameplay. They're just a little bit of a shortcut, and yeah, it's good. It's a good game, but as Jared said, it is spoilery. If you haven't seen the movie, you will know what happens in the movie by playing the game, so you might want to hold off. Also, Field Runners 2 came out, as I said earlier, $3 on the iPhone. Great game. And a game that I know Jared really, really wants to play really bad. That is a Great Big War Game came out. A sequel to Great Little War Game or Little Great War Game or whatever the heck it was called. $2.99, and it's kind of it's a turn-based strategy game, right?
Yeah, so it's the most similar game that you can get to Advance Wars on, from Game Boy Advance days on the iOS. So yeah, and you're right, it is the sequel to Great Little War Game, and yeah, $2.99. Yeah, I'm going to be playing that one as well as soon as I have space on my iPod.
Cool. It looks really good. The first one looked decent, and this one looks even better. So look for that. Hopefully Jared can talk about that one soon. All right, well, let's do this. There's a game on my iPad, and I just want to find the name of it because I can't remember it off the top of my head, that I downloaded. It's available in Canada only. It's called Armed Heroes, and its icon looks like a dragon, and the game doesn't appear to have dragons in it, so I was a little bit kind of concerned that was the case. But basically what it is it's a MMO. It's a top-down kind of Diablo-y MMO where you go out, you kill things, you get loot, you spend your currency on bigger and better loot, very similar to like a World of Warcraft kind of thing. But it's free to play, and I checked it out. It's available in Canada only so far. I think it might have actually launched in other parts of the world, and it was a lot of fun. It's a game that was very hard to get anywhere without spending real money. I could see myself that I'd have to grind for hours and hours and hours to basically get to it, to get to play it without spending real money. So I kind of liked it. It was kind of okay, but I wasn't sure if I was going to keep playing it. And then I read a great article where basically the Chinese developer that is making this game is basically been accused that they've stolen some of the assets from Torchlight. So if you've never heard of Torchlight before, it's a great Diablo clone on the PC. So it's kind of funny that a clone is mad at a clone, but whatever. I don't know what to say about that. But basically, the developer has said that no, these assets aren't stolen. I'm showing it on the screen right now, but you can see some of the characters are very, very similar. There's like some of the enemies, some of the NPCs and things like that look awful lot like some of the things that were in Torchlight. So the developer said, no, we're not doing it. But Runic, the developer of Torchlight, basically said, well, we're going to protect our intellectual property. So they sent emails to Apple. They contacted other things for DMCA takedowns and all that type of stuff. And they basically complained that this developer was stealing some of their assets of their game. Well, it looks like today Apple has actually taken this game offline. So yeah, Apple, I guess, believed enough that they were infringing on the copyright of Runic, and they have taken down this game. So if you're looking for it, in the limited release that it was, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to do that anymore because it is off the App Store. But what do you think of that, Jared? Stealing, blatant theft of assets like that, it seems pretty pretty bad.
Yeah, you had mentioned like, the fact that they're a Diablo clone, but I think it's way different because they didn't actually take Diablo and actually copy the characters. Like if you look at some of those character models,
Yep.
they're identical.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and Runic has, come out and said that it's not very hard to do because apparently I didn't know this, but they have very much encouraged modding on their game.
Mm-hmm.
So they've released those character sprites, so that people can change and mess with them, and it just is really shady to go and basically take these things that they've released so that you can mod their game and basically change it, mod or change a couple of colors and then bring it out as your own game on a different platform. Like I'm glad that Apple took it down. Like and there's no way that Apple could have known this when they approved the game. They're not. You can't expect them to understand or have memories of every single game. But I'm glad that they did react once it was reported to them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the developer had said that they had gotten some of these assets from some third parties that were doing things for them, which is like, okay, maybe that happened. Either way, you have assets in your game from a game that was released that aren't really changed very much. Like most of them are exactly as they existed in Torchlight. They show up in this game. So not a good way to get started. And the developer, I can't remember who it was. One of the Runic, the developers over at Runic, basically said the ironic thing about this all is it's really hard to make an MMO, and it's really easy to farm out the creation of new assets to other Chinese sweatshop graphic design houses. So they went about this the wrong way. They built all of the game themselves and then stole the easy part. It was kind of like an off-the-cuff remark like that, which kind of made me giggle a little bit because, yeah, that's true. Like you're doing the hard part, making the game, and you're stealing these art assets from a copy of the game. So anyway, yeah, it is not on the App Store anymore. If you're looking for it, you have to wait until they're going to be submitting another version of the binary. But even if it's back up, it's an MMO that is very, very real money centric. So you're going to be buying a lot of things with real money to progress with the game. So even if it comes back on the App Store, I don't think I'll be playing it. So maybe we'll chat a little bit more about this in the future. But until then, let's talk about something that is coming to the App Store. And this one really makes me excited, and that is Jet Set Radio Future is going to be coming to the iOS App Store. This is basically the redone version of Jet Set Radio, which is a great game on the Dreamcast, and it's going to be coming to PlayStation, Xbox Live, and it was just announced today that it's going to be coming to the iOS platform as well. So basically the game revolves around you. You're this real stylized, cel-shaded person on inline skates, and you run around and tag people or tag things, and the game revolves around you trying to tag as many things as possible. So you're on skates and you're spray painting things. The music is great. The game itself was really awesome, and it's definitely a Dreamcast classic. So I'm really looking forward to this one coming out. They're saying that it's they don't have a release date for it yet, but they are saying that it will be out in summer. So anytime between now and I don't know September, it'll probably be out on the App Store. So yeah, check it out. I'm really looking forward to this one. Did you ever play the original, Jared?
No, actually, I have no idea what Jet Set Radio is.
What? You crazy man. It's such a great game. It is so much fun. But yeah, that'll be coming to the iOS App Store. Looks like something that I will definitely want to be playing on my iPad when it does hit the store, because it looks that awesome.
Yeah, some of the art looks cool, so I mean, I'll give it a shot and look at it, and we'll see what happens.
Cool.
So it seems like one of the most sought after things on the iPhone lately on iOS is to have a Pokemon clone. Seems like everyone realizes that Pokemon was super successful, and everyone is trying to capture that on iOS. So actually, it's kind of interesting because there's been, I think, 3 different games talked about in the last 3 weeks that are basically all trying to do the same thing and bring the Pokemon to iOS. So the first one is Little Masters, and this one actually is like picture-wise, I think it might actually be the closest thing to Pokemon. So I mean, it looks a lot like Pokemon. It has the eggs, all that type of thing. It's evolution, all that, and this one has already been submitted to Apple. So maybe even in the next week or two, you'll be able to see it. But at the same time, there's also one that is submitted to Apple as well, called Dragon Island Blue. Kind of playing off Pokemon Blue. If the original ones were blue, and that one they've said is going to be 99 cents as a promotional thing, whereas Little Masters doesn't have a price yet that I've seen. So it's just interesting that right now it seems like that's kind of the big thing to do, is to try and figure out how you can have a successful copy of Pokemon. What do you think of that, Lloyd?
I like it. I actually found out about Little Masters reading some of the Nintendo websites, and they're like, "Oh my God, will the theft of Nintendo intellectual property never stop?" And "Oh my God, this is such a ripoff of Pokemon," and they basically ripped the ROM and put it on the App Store. And I looked at this game, and sure, it's a similar game in style to what Pokemon is. You're walking around a village, you're fighting your creatures against other creatures, you're trying to catch the other creatures, but it doesn't look like it's ripped off any of the assets of Pokemon. So this one actually looks like it has a good chance to stick around and make it out. I really like the look of it. I think I'm going to be digging that one. I watched the video for Dragon Island Blue, and it looks kind of interesting. Looks a little bit, I don't know, looks like it's more almost like turn-based strategy compared to what Little Masters is, which is more of kind of like a real-time battle sort of thing. Not that Pokemon is really real-time battle, but you know what I mean, like the real-time exploration and stuff like that. So either way, it's going to be cool to have choices for your Pokemans on iOS. That's really the genre that is missing. There's been some other ones, one that you'll be telling us about in this episode that didn't do it so well. So hopefully these ones do it really, really well.
Yeah, hopefully. I like to see that. It seems like each successful game, eventually someone tries to clone it for iOS, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, to try and make sure that all the genres are represented. I just hope, like, one of my all-time favorite games is Patapon. I'm just waiting for someone to try and clone Patapon and put that on iOS. Like,
That'd be great.
I would play that for hours.
That is such a great game.
Yeah. So
every time you say that game, I get the music stuck in my head forever. So I have Patapon music playing in my head right now, and I'm very angry that you did that to me. Thanks, Jared.
Patapon.
Yeah, exactly. It's evil, but good. Evil in a good way.
Yeah.
All right.
Love that game.
Yeah.
But that's not iOS, so
no.
Sorry.
Maybe in the future. All right, man. That's going to about do it for news. Not too much to talk about, but we do have some game reviews for you. So do you want to kick off with single reviews, or do you want to do our awesome joint review this week, Jared? I'll leave it up to you.
I would prefer to do the joint review so I can delete it sooner.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's foreshadowing to what our review is going to be, I think. All right, so let's get into this. We're going to do a joint review of Pocket Heroes, which is 99 cents on the App Store. It is it's a turn-based asynchronous RPG, 8-bit RPG that you play only with friends. It doesn't have a single-player mode at all. It's by Ayopa Games LLC. And
Aopa is actually just the publisher.
that's the publisher. Sorry, it's by One Man Left or whatever, right?
Nope.
No, what is it by?
No.
Who's it by? I'm gonna
I
load it
don't
up
know.
now. It's by someone that did something. Credits. No, it is not. I'm thinking of a different game. Never mind.
5 Games.
That's right. That's what it is.
Who I've never heard of.
Exactly. So Pocket Heroes is it's Pocket Heroes. It's it's Pocket Heroes.
So let's start out with the history. Pocket Heroes was originally supposed to come out in spring, and it looked really, really interesting. The idea was something completely novel. I was so excited for this game.
It was announced kind of when all the other asynchronous games were kind of being talked about as being the next big thing that you're going to be doing on your iOS platform.
Exactly, and I thought it would look so much fun. It was, you were able to go questing and get loot with your friends, and be able to play a turn, and then they would play a turn, and you'd be able to beat dungeons and all that. And I was extremely excited. Well, then it got delayed, and it got delayed until June. Well, then obviously June came and went, and it still wasn't out. And then they said it would be out in July. So it actually did come out in July after a couple of delays. And so it finally came out. Was it last week?
Yes. Just before we recorded last week, I believe.
Yeah, so it came out last week on Thursday. And Lloyd and I both picked it up because we both thought it looked good, right?
Yep.
We both were really intrigued by the idea of something that hadn't been done before. And we started a game. And this game is so slow. It is painfully slow. I think the only way that I would even find it playable would be if I was like sitting in the same room as someone else and we were playing it at the same time in the same room, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's just too slow. The other thing is you always start off at level 1. So if I start a game with Lloyd, and then I started a game with some other listeners that talked to me about it on the forums, and each time I had to start over at level 1, and we started doing the exact same thing, which I found to be a little bit annoying because it's super linear. So for me, there's no fun in that because you can't really do a lot of exploring because you already know where everything's at.
Exactly.
My next issue is you have to pay for it up front. However, there's items that every time you get to an end of a level, you can then go and purchase items. However, usually you won't have enough money to purchase much, maybe a potion or two. That's about it.
And even then, that's not a for sure thing based on the way that you have to pay to resurrect yourself when you die.
Yep, exactly. And yet, so you can't go and get better weapons unless you go and pay real money to get extra gold. So that's another annoying thing. And that might be manageable if I got the extra gold like on all the games I was playing, but I was thinking about it, but you basically get the extra gold, but only in that one specific game. So once that one specific game with, for example, our game between Lloyd and I is over, you essentially lose any benefit that you paid for.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it looks like it's supposed to be the best game ever. It has everything that I love in a game. 8-bit retro Nintendo Square kind of graphics and tiles. It looks like an old school RPG. You have the selection of 4 classes. So you can be the paladin, you can be the ranger, you can be the mech dude. I can't remember what the name of the mech dude is. Or you can be Mechie, or you can be a wizard. And it looks great. And then, as you said, Jared, you get into the game and it's so slow. You can only move like 8 tiles. You can only attack twice because you have attack points. You have like action points, and each attack takes 3, and they give you 8 action points. So you can only attack twice, and you have 2 that are just sitting there doing nothing most of the time. So it does a whole bunch of really weird things, but it's really the slowness that gets me. I bought some gold just to see if having gold changes the game. So I bought 100 gold for 99 cents, and I bought a sword and some armor. And next thing you know, I'm one-shotting enemies that would take 3 shots before. So I can kill 2 enemies in 1 turn instead of taking 2 to 2.5 turns to kill an enemy. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, well, how is this fun? Like, it's not like you're going to keep this the next time you replay it. It's not like the money that you spend real money on now is going to allow you to get more gold so that you'll be better set in the future. Because we've gone to, like, what is it, the 5th mission or something, I think, Jared? Something like that.
Yeah, 5th or 6th. I don't know.
And everything is just that much more expensive. So you get there and you might have collected 60 gold by getting gold from killing enemies and selling items. But all of the swords that are there now and all the other items are like 150 gold to start instead of where they started at 40 in the first mission. So I don't know. I'm not enjoying this game at all. I'm playing through two games, one with Jared and one with Tobias from the forums as well. And on both of them, it's almost like painful for me to go and start playing the missions. Like I'm not enjoying it in the least. So I don't know. I think just like you said, Jared, I'm going to be deleting it from my phone after I'm done this. It's really interesting because I'm looking on the App Store and they have an average rating of 4 out of 5 in 25 reviews. So I don't know what these people are seeing that we're not seeing, but yeah, I can't recommend this game to anybody that's listening unless you have some friends that you're going to be playing with. You're going to get the moves back and forth really fast. Maybe if you're playing at lunch at school or on your break at work, that would work. But even then, there's so many other better games that you could play. They might not be co-op, but they're better experiences.
Yeah, there's no undo button, which is really annoying.
Oh my goodness.
Because like the slightest tap and all of a sudden your move will be gone. But I did find a way around it. If you go back to the game or you back out of your game and then come back in,
mm-hmm.
and it's like no turn ever happened, you watch all the replay again, which is fine, but it feels like it's an error, like they didn't think people would do that.
It's a bug that they're going to be fixing in the next version probably.
Yeah, so it's really bad when something is actually okay about it,
mm-hmm.
and it looks like it's a bug.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong. Maybe that's not what it is, but that's what it feels like.
And the bad part about that is, say if you kill an enemy and it drops something that you want, like a sword or an axe, and you're like, oh my god, that is the exact weapon I want. And you go to tap to move and pick it up, and you accidentally tap in the wrong place. If you go back to the menu, that enemy won't drop that weapon again. So you've just cost yourself the chance of getting that weapon. On the other hand, you can keep going back and forth until you get an item that you want, or until the enemy drops gold. So you could sit there for 50 minutes if you want, or an hour or 2, and keep playing the same turn over and over and over again to get the ending that you want. So you've killed the enemy and he dropped gold. Which then at the same time just makes the game that much slower if you're playing with someone that is like a min-maxer that wants to do that for all of their moves. I don't know. I don't really have anything else to say about this game. I didn't enjoy it. I was so looking forward to this one, and unfortunately it was not the game that I was hoping for, which is a big shame.
Yeah, and not only was it the game I was hoping for, it's a game that I can't recommend to anyone. I mean, it's just and the strange thing is, I've been reading some reviews and it seems like some people are mixed on it. Some people will be positive and other people will be negative, but I just absolutely can't recommend it. It seems like everyone on our forums is completely agreeing with us.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is one that we recommend you stay away from, and maybe we'll watch, and if there's crazy big updates, maybe I'll go give it another chance. But
exactly.
For right now, stay far away from it. Save your 99 cents. Go spend it on something better.
Exactly. So what do you give this game?
Is 0 possible?
No, 1 to 5.
Dang it. 1. All right, fine. You get 1, but only because Lloyd says we can't give it a 0.
Yeah, we try not to do zeros. That's really mean, because there is something in this game that is at least worthy. It runs on the phone, so it at least gets some points. but that's about it.
Yeah, 1 star for running. And I mean, it has interesting ideas. It's just terrible
Yeah.
execution.
I love the idea of asynchronous play. Like basically, if you're not familiar with the term, that's you take your turn and it sends your turn to someone else so they can take the turn. It's like Words with Friends or Draw Something or Ticket to Ride, or there's a whole bunch of games like that now. I really love asynchronous games. Unfortunately, this one just isn't that good. So, yeah, Pocket Heroes gets a 1 out of 5 from me as well. So, check it out if you really want to get really frustrated at a game, but I really can't recommend this to anybody.
I nominate it for our Hall of Shame.
Hall of Shame. So, you want to do a Hall of Fame and a Hall of Shame?
Oh,
You
man,
like
I'm all going
halls.
all out.
You like
Yeah,
halls.
they're nice.
Awesome. All right, well, let's move along to our next review. Jared, why don't you continue the bad news? I'll get the sad trombone ready to play, and tell us about your next review.
All right, so my review is My Monster Rancher. Oh, and I just deleted Pocket Heroes. Um, I didn't waste any time. So My Monster Rancher was a huge franchise. They came out with a whole bunch of them. I think I just looked it up. They came out with 4 of them in the main series. There was Monster Rancher 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I was kind of excited when all of a sudden I saw the characters from Monster Rancher. They have a couple of really recognizable guys. They have that little eyeball guy that's yellow, and I think his name's like Squeezo or something like that. And then they have this like weird penguin guy that's kind of pinkish. And I was just excited. And then I saw who the publisher was, and that was the first thing that made me nervous because the publisher is Mobbage. Mobbage, I don't know. Mobbage. We'll go with Mobbage. Um, which is a fairly well-known free-to-play network, and it looks like they're now doing some more publishing of games recently. And so the game actually ends up playing a bit more like you remember those like Mafia Wars that there were so many of,
Mm-hmm.
in the early days of iOS gaming. Well, it kind of plays like one of those. So one of the cool things about Monster Rancher back in the day was the way that you would get new monsters was you would go find CDs, or yeah, I think it was all CDs,
Yep.
and you would put them in your machine, and it would create a monster from your disc. So maybe you'd go grab a CD from your favorite band, whatever that may be, and it would turn out a cool like Golem guy, or a dragon or something, and then you would be able to play with that character in the game. So that was a really cool thing. Well, they wanted to obviously keep that mechanic because it was kind of inventive and new. And the way that they did that is you can now turn your friends into it. So if you have friends, and mind you, this is friends on the Mobbage network, not friends on Game Center, which is extremely annoying.
Boo.
Yes, that's always a huge down point. So if you have friends on there, you can turn them into monsters. And so I went and turned a couple into monsters. Don't worry, Lloyd, I didn't turn you into a monster, but mostly
Oh,
because we're not friends on Mobbage.
I don't play mobbage
Um,
games. That's the reason.
yep. So I went and turned a couple of friends into monsters that I have. I think I just added them from other random games that I've played over the time, and um, yeah. So you kind of train them, and training them is very boring. Basically, you punch a button and say you're going to train on strength, and then you can do it again, and they lose energy by doing it. And anytime you see energy, you get a little nervous because sure enough, the energy regenerates over time, so you have to leave the game in order to continue on, or give them food, which you can sometimes find and win, and actually I've won a fair bit. But the other way you get it is by buying it. So that's how this game makes the money, is freemium. Next, you only have a ranch, which with a maximum of 2 monsters. To me, that's not really a ranch. I mean, 2 monsters is pretty weak. So I went and I was like, oh, okay, well, it looks like I need to go ahead and expand. Well, in order to expand, you need the special coins, the premium currency, the
Mm.
monster coins instead of the normal coins. And you can only get those by purchasing them. At least thus far, I have not gotten any by just playing the game. So it's very heavily monetized. Then the other things you can do with your monsters is you can battle them, which sounds really exciting. You know, you can go and battle against other trainers, and you can battle against your friends. But here's the bad thing. Guess how the battles play out? You have 6 stats, and essentially those stats, it picks one randomly,
Mm.
and after it picks one randomly, it compares, for example, it picks strength or defense, and it'll compare your strength compared to the other monster's strength, and whoever is higher wins. That's it.
That's rock paper scissors.
No, not even rock paper scissors.
With it
And
with it guessing your move and the computer's move and not letting you make your own decision.
more or less, yeah. And then it plays through, and you usually have to win about three random stats that it compares, and you have to win 3 of them. And then you can win. So it's a really, really boring battle system. I mean, it's like, you have zero control because it's randomly picking which one to compare,
Hmm.
and then it's just comparing it, and whoever has it gets the win. And if like, for example, I was battling someone and he beat me by like 4 on skill, and then I beat him like by 300 on strength, but it counts the same.
Wow.
So it's
That's
like
horrible.
I won by 300, but he won by 4. And it's ridiculous. Then you can also make your friends even bigger, and make them your neighbors. And it's kind of nice when you have neighbors, because then your neighbors can do stuff, and they can give presents, because sometimes when you're doing stuff, you'll find presents. However, you can't give your own guys presents. You can't give your own monsters presents. You have to give the presents to your neighbors, which is just bizarre. So, and by giving them presents, it raises their fame. So it's just, I
Wow.
don't know. It If you like the Mafia Wars, Super Pet Wars, I don't know all of them. I think that they've had one with just about every theme possible under the sun, ninjas or whatever else.
Hmm.
Then this game may be for you. But otherwise, don't buy into the fact that it's a Monster Rancher title, and the fact that it has very nice pictures of the monsters from Monster Rancher, because it is very boring. And so I'm going to give this a 2 out of 5.
Ooh. It's
Yeah.
the depressing episode of the Touch of Gaming podcast.
Come on, give me some good news. Tell me you got something good last.
I got something awesome last. So, yeah. So I'm going to be doing a review of Metal Slug 3. It's brought out by SNK Playmore, so the original makers of this game, and it's essentially a port of the Neo Geo arcade version of this game. So if you're not familiar, SNK came out with the Neo Geo system. It was a home system that cost like $1,000, and it was also an arcade cabinet that played cartridges. So you'd have these arcade cabinets that would have multiple cartridge slots. You'd choose whichever game you want and play them. And these games were super expensive. I know people that own the Metal Slug series, and they've paid hundreds and hundreds of dollars for these games, and they are awesome. And I would pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars for the arcade versions if I had an MVS4 in my basement, which I would love to have one day. But Metal Slug 3, I was a little bit concerned when I first heard about it. I'd read some issues with controls and other issues with it, and I thought that I've seen other arcade conversions on the App Store, and they usually don't work out very well for whatever reason. Like the Pac-Mans and other things, they're decent, but there's just some control issues. So what I said last podcast was I would really love if this game had iCade support. Well, hallelujah, it has iCade support, and it is amazing iCade support when it works. We'll get to that in a second. So Metal Slug basically has you in a battle, and you're trying to beat essentially what are like Nazis. At least that's what the first few Metal Slugs are. You're the big American force, and you're fighting the Germans from way back in the day. This one starts a little bit weird, where you're fighting giant crabs and other things, and like and stuff. Metal Slug's got crazy. They went from just fighting humans to fighting aliens and other weird things. This one starts off with you in the ocean, and you're fighting alien crabs and things like that. Really kind of wacky stuff. And it's basically a left to right kind of game. You start in the left, and you move right, and you shoot things, and you try to kill everything that's on the screen. They drop power-ups. And you use those power-ups to kill things faster. You have grenades and other things as well. If you take one hit, you're dead, and you get a certain number of lives, and then you can continue when you die. So it's very much an arcade game, and it's true to the actual arcades. I had some issues with the controls because it has on-screen controls with like an on-screen D-pad or joystick, I guess, and 3 buttons. And I would keep missing the button that I'd want. You have your attack button is bigger and your other ones are smaller, so it gives you more space to hit it. But I was still kind of screwing up. And then I decided to check to see if it worked with my iCade. And I was able to get one of the screens to disappear when I jiggled the joystick, and I like, oh great, it supports iCade, but then nothing else worked, and I was like, oh, that's really weird. So I did some Google searching, couldn't really find out the reason as to why that was happening. So I let my iCade time out, repaired it, did all that fun stuff, tried other iCade games, and then finally when I went from Velocispider all the way to this, so basically went from one to the other, the iCade controls just started working, and they were pretty solid after that. I've had a couple other issues, so just a word of warning: if you have an iCade and you're noticing some control issues where you can't get it to work, sometimes starting another iCade game and going back in will do it. At least it worked for me. And the controls are spot on. If you have an iCade, you know that there's 2 rows of 4 buttons. So your shot is the top button 1, your jump is the bottom button 1, and then your grenade is the top button 2. So you can kind of do like little claw with your fingers, and then you use the joystick to move, and it's bang on. It's like playing an arcade version of Metal Slug in my house. The game itself is $7. I don't think I said that right at the top of the episode. It's $6.99 on the App Store, and for that you get pretty much the port of the Neo Geo game. It includes a mission mode that they threw in to make it a little bit different than the arcade version. All that is basically you start on a specific mission, so it's not really anything new. It just is kind of like a fast forward to get to other places. It has multiplayer, which got me really excited until I found out that it's local Bluetooth multiplayer only, which isn't so good. And the problem for me is it's Bluetooth multiplayer, meaning that if I want to play multiplayer with my wife, for example, we can't be using iCades because the iCades communicate over Bluetooth. So to me, that kind of ruins it for me. It would be awesome if we could have our, because I have 2 iCades, long story, I won't get into it here, but it would be real awesome if I could have like both iCades, one facing one way on a table, one facing the other way, and we could be sitting there playing Metal Slug. But unfortunately the Bluetooth is only over, or the multiplayer rather is only over Bluetooth, so that's not really possible. So that's a little bit of a bummer. Other things is it has Game Center achievements. I've gotten a pile of them. They seem to come naturally. You don't really have to do anything super specific. Just kill a certain amount of enemies, eat a certain number of fruits, collect a certain number of items, that type of stuff. Pretty simple things. But I don't know. It's Metal Slug, and it's a really good version of Metal Slug. Even without the iCade support, I'd say it's a really good version of Metal Slug. I've played it on the Wii. I own the Wii Metal Slug collection. I've rebought it multiple times on different consoles. I can't even think about how many versions of Metal Slug I have in different iterations, and it is fun to play. I would have liked to have seen this one include some other Metal Slugs, since it is $7, which is not a lot of money, but it is a lot of money on the App Store. It would be really cool if it was like a 2-game pack. So maybe you get Metal Slug 3 and Metal Slug X, and then they come out with the Metal Slug Classics, which is Metal Slug 1 and 2. That would have been really awesome. Even if they bring them out, all 4 of them separately, I will own all 4 on my iPad, because that's really what I would want to set up a MAME cabinet for if I was to do that, would be to play Metal Slug. That's just one of my favorite arcade games. So anyway, Metal Slug 3, $7 on the App Store by SNK. Really great port, because it is essentially the arcade port. it's about as close as you can get because it's running some of the actual ROMs that were in the arcade cabinet, and it gets a 4 out of 5 by me. It doesn't get a 5 out of 5 just because of the local multiplayer. I really wish it was on the net, like over Game Center, over the internet. It would allow me to do what I really want to do with this one. It would, if they add that in, I mean, that would just be amazing. So hopefully they do that in the future. The iCade support is a little bit buggy, but once you get it going, it's super solid. So if you have an iCade, this is definitely a game for you to check out. So Metal Slug 3, $7 on the App Store, and it gets a 4 out of 5 by me.
Thank goodness we had a good one, kind of a palate cleanser after the garbage fest that we had earlier.
The Depresso cast is what it was.
Yeah, seriously. But on the good news, if there's been some games you've been looking at, look for them to go on sale. It looks like a couple of like EA and Crescent Moon have decided to throw sales for the Olympics.
Yeah. Yeah, Crescent Moon sale is actually really good. All their games dropped in price by a lot, or at least half. Like Airlon is half price. One of their games is even free. A lot of them are 99 cents. So if you're looking forward to some Crescent Moon games in the future, but you haven't picked them up yet, you should probably pick up some of them while they're on sale.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. All the EA ones, I think they call them like the gold medal sale or something like that because they can't say Olympics. So they're calling it the gold medal sale. So I thought that was kind of entertaining.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so it looks like my internet worked about. I changed my internet and it seemed to perform much better this time.
Yeah, we got a sweet connection this time. I'm really quite happy with how the internet turned out. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah, so glad it worked out. You know, it's only like $5 more a month for me, but I think it'll make this a lot easier. So
awesome. All right, guys. Well, that's going to about do it for this episode of the Touch of Gaming podcast. This is episode 111, as I said. We want to hear from you. Send us emails, vgpodcast@gmail.com. You can call our voicemail line, which is area code 505-VG-Podcasts. We have a forum set up at vgpodcast.com/forums with a lot of people in the forums are chatting all the time. We have Tadias from the forums is asking if we had time to slam Pocket Heroes yet because he just arrived. And yes, we killed it. So you missed that, Tadias. He's the guy that I'm playing my other game with, and we're both like really, really upset at this game. So that's the reason for that one. So yeah, that's gonna about do it for this episode, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for staying subscribed. If you have friends that are into iOS gaming, definitely tell them about the show. Let them know where they can get it, and let them know that we do live recordings on Thursdays, so they can see games. So I'm working on a way for us to be able to actually show game video while we're doing reviews and stuff like that. So let them know about all that stuff, and we'll continue to bring out good shows for you guys. So thanks, and until next week, we'll talk to you guys soon.
All right. Bye.
Later.